Hey guys! I literally have absolutely no idea when this video will be released exactly, because this is the week I'm getting married and in 2 weeks time I will be away on a business trip in Amsterdam for a whole week, so life is a little bit hectic right now. I will do my best, but if there are some disruptions with the schedule, apologize for that in advance. On another note, you might be glad to hear that I finally did grind out the first Japanese CV, so the next video will definitely be about them. A quick word of advice already. It turns out that with Japanese CVs, the manual drop does not affect the actual spread of the torpedoes, so you won't be able to pull off those monster drops with them you did see in some of my previous videos, because those were with American carriers. It's still worth to do manual drops, however, as you can launch the torpedoes much closer to your prey this way. I will definitely include some further suggestions to the Japanese CVs in next week's video. But getting to the point. This week we have a very special guest in the form of the SU-26, a rather infamous SPG in World of Tanks. This was a highly popular little beast previously, as it was a fast-firing, rather precise, turreted SPG in the lower tiers, and you don't exactly have many of those. Things have changed quite a lot however since, and the current version is, well, but let's discuss that a bit later. As usual, you will find an ace tanker run at the end of this review. If you are only interested in the action, the quick link awaits in the description below. If, however, you would like to know more about this machine, you are in the right spot. The historical look at this Tier 3 Soviet artillery will be rather short this time around. I just didn't find a lot of information about the SU-26. What I do know is that the number 26 stands for the chassis of the T-26 light tank that this artillery was based on. The base of the T-26, by the way, was extremely widely reused in the USSR. In fact, there were over 50 modifications and experimental vehicles based on it, including flamethrower tanks, combat engineer vehicles for laying bridges, SPGs, armored transport vehicles, and even some remotely controlled experimental tanks. As for the SU-26 self-propelled gun modification, only about 14 of these were built in 1941. And they were mostly equipped with a 76mm gun similar to the one they have in the game. Now it's interesting to mention that Stalin basically crippled the early SPG development of the USSR himself, as from the mid-1930s many Soviet tank engineers fell victim of Stalin's so-called Great Purge. Now, looking at the in-game version a bit closer, it's no mystery why it's so special compared to all of the other SPGs you've encountered so far. It actually has a turret. Now, there are a couple of pretty sweet things that come with a turreted SPG. Number one is that with a basically 360-degree gun arc, you won't have that annoying aiming problem when your target moves out of your arc and you have to completely re-aim again. Here, you only have to re-aim fully if you swing the gun around to a completely different part of the map. Another big bonus of having a turret is that it will help you remain undetected, as you will never have to move your body, meaning that your camo net will remain always active. And lastly, although the turret rotation speed is far from quick, you will still have a much easier time pointing your gun at those pesky attacking light tanks, as now you can turn both your hull and your turret at the same time. Now this is all nice and good, but what about the gun? Well, this is where things get really interesting. It gets a rather small caliber 76mm gun that has a lot of good qualities. A very good rate of fire with 9 rounds per minute, combined with a lightning quick aiming time of only 4.5 seconds, and super accuracy at only 0.71 meters dispersion, allows you to put a lot of shells in quickly into stationary targets. You do have to pay the price with a limited firing range of only 500 meters. That means that you will have to relocate as the battle moves on, but that's kinda expected with these rapid-fire low-caliber guns. Where it gets really weird though, is when you take a closer look at the ammunition types you can use. As you will see, a regular AP shell in the first spot. What? Ah, you thought you got me there wargaming, but not today, you might say, and load up on HE as usual with artillery. Then comes the first game, and the first shock. The HE in this machine is horrible, and it really only works on super soft targets. Regular HE ammunition has a penetration of only 42mm on average, and a very limited alpha damage of 164. Combine this with a ridiculously low burst radius of just over a meter, and you have yourself a shell that will very often fail to penetrate and only do laughable amounts of damage or none at all. Now, this is usually the moment where you will decide to F this and change it to an all armor-piercing layout that has 80mm of penetration and will still do 110 damage with every shot that penetrates. You won't miss out on much splash damage anyway with that burst radius of yours. So next game, you find yourself some juicy tier 5 heavy tanks, and you bounce and bounce and bounce. So how do you use it then? Most forum posts will tell you to have both HE and AP, and change the ammo type based on the targets you go for, and I can definitely see this working. You do have a short enough reload for it. To be honest though, I myself only used AP while grinding through this SPG, and there were only very few situations where I felt that HE might have been better. The alpha damage is just not that much higher with HE. Bounces from more heavily armored foes are expected, so try to aim for their weak spots like engine decks and avoid shooting them from the front as much as possible. Now, I would love to say that the bad news ends here, but unfortunately that would be a lie. Though to be honest, the rest is not a major issue. You do have the lowest health with only 110 HP, and you are absolutely made of paper all around with only 15mm of armor. But we would not expect much more from most low-tier artillery pieces anyway. Due to this, we will skip the tank viewer session this time around. As for the rest, the camo rating for this machine is not the best either. It's more middle of the road than actually bad. Speed is again the slowest of its tier, but with a 30 km/h top speed you can still easily keep up with the battle. At least your traverse speed of 26 degrees is pretty good, so don't forget to turn both your hull and your turret when you are defending yourself, as your turret itself only turns at 16 degrees per second. And last but not least, view range is average with 320 meters, and signal range is pretty good at 615 meters, not that it would really interest anyone. Equipment and crew skill-wise is the super standard SPG setup once again, so I won't rob your time with it. Let's jump instead straight to the verdict. So, the SU-26. It was definitely not my favorite from this tier, although it was fun to have a turreted SPG for the first time. After the first couple of annoying matches I did more or less figure out how to use the ammo layout with good effect, but overall I would still rather call it interesting rather than good. And that's not to say that you can't have a good time in this, which hopefully you will be able to see from the next replay. Alright, so here we are in our SU-26. It's a tier 4 match. We got Ensk in the map rotation, but luckily it's the encounter mode. So that means that I hope to get some really good shots at the enemies advancing in the east and throughout the buildings in the middle. Now, looking at the team setup, you see this the enemy cruiser 2, seems to be a good player, and the rest is, well, let's just say we probably can expect some interesting plays from both teams. Luckily though, only a portion of the team decides to zerg over to the cap circle, and the rest remains on this side, so that's always a big bonus. Now you will see me firing AP throughout the game. As you can see on my loadout, I have half-half between AP and HE. And I just don't change. I mean, you can definitely do it, you have a quick reload if you want to min-max it, but I'm just so disappointed in the damage potential of these HE shells with such a low caliber gun that I'm just going AP all the way. And as you can see, it's working out actually quite nicely. Of course, if I hit the front of a DW2, that will not be good. Side of a Hetzer is a different story entirely. Now the DW2 is probably about the only tank that will give me a problem if I hit it in the wrong spot. But luckily, well, the Valentine 80 has a pretty well-armored front as well. But as you can see, the accuracy of this gun is good enough that you can try to go for weak spots with the AP shells. No, there is a T-28 on this side. We don't want to get flanked. Now he's moving away, so he's trying to flank our guys in the middle of the city. But with the first shot we track him, and now we have his ass sticking out right in front of us. One more shot goes in. It is not destroyed, so probably that was his tracks once again. And now he's not there anymore. So let's look for another target. Okay, so there is this DW2 once again. Come on, there we go, finishing shot. Okay, so here is the dangerous player from the enemy team, and fortunately I have a very limited shot on this one, so let's see, maybe he moves. The position, unfortunately, was not perfectly aimed. Luckily, T-40 moves in for the kill, and that was a very, very important kill indeed. Alright, so let's see, there are a couple of enemy tanks and the enemy artillery remaining. And where is that Covenanter? He was in the middle. Okay, there he is. Unfortunately, at the moment I don't have shots at him between the train carriages. If he moves up a little bit, you see, I can shoot over those smaller ones and I'm able to hit his turret. So that means he's now in a pretty tricky situation. And unfortunately I was tunnel visioning and just realized, oh shit, there is an SU-85B coming up on the eastern flank. And that thing is not good news for me. I love that tank destroyer, it's quick, it's a really good gun. I don't know where he was aiming with that shot. And here comes the mobility into play. As you can see, I can try to turn the turret and the hull. Unfortunately, I slow down just a little bit too much. Almost did manage to outmaneuver him, but there is one shot is well enough for this Tier 4 tank destroyer to completely annihilate me. So that was not bad at all. Unfortunately, we can't carry the team to the end of it. 4 kills is all we will get out of this. Now we have an SU-85B of our own and the Lux on 6 health. Come on Lux, you can do it. Don't stop in front of that SPG. Oh man, that was close. But now it's a 2-on-1 situation, so all these guys have to do is to group up Lux to remain hidden and then engage as soon as the SU is spotted. There he goes. Okay, the two SUs are focusing on each other, so all the Lux has to do is to shoot. Enemy SU moves in for the kill, so Lux? What the hell? Oh my god. Honestly, this game is seriously the cause of some grey hairs. Because Mr. Lux decided, screw those SUs, they can have fun with each other, I'm going to the cab. In an encounter match. Oh, holy hell. Now I have to apologize, I lose it a little bit in chat. It's not too bad, but I mean, come on, seriously. Luckily, Lux gets the message, it seems. Or maybe he just changed his mind. And he moves in. Now it's interesting, the enemy SU has completely left that side and rolls right in front of our Lux. Maybe he got scared that he will be capped if he doesn't go after him. Oh man, low tier games. So, this was my ace tanker run in the SU-26. I hope this game did highlight most of the specialties of this unique little machine, and it did show you that despite all the drawbacks, it can still give you some good results. Just like this game, when we did almost 1000 damage and wrecked 4 tanks as a tier 3 SPG in a tier 4 game, earning us 19,000 credits and well over 600 base XP. This was enough to finish overall first by damage done, XP earned and kills secured as well. Not a bad result from firing only AP shells. Talking about those AP shells, we fired 21 of them, 17 of which hit the target and 11 of them actually penetrated as well. This is a very good indicator of this machine, I think. The accuracy is definitely there, but do expect a lot of bounces against more heavily armored opponents. Then again, with the crappy HE shells we would have had as an alternative, we would not have been better off either, so this is just something you have to expect. So, this was my take on the SU-26, the Tier 3 turreted Soviet SPG. I hope you did find this short review useful and it will help you to get the best out of this machine. Next up, we will finally launch some torpedoes at some, hopefully, unsuspecting battleships in World of Warships, so that should be a lot of fun. Take care guys, and I see you next week.